Tonight, we're devoting a large part of our programme to the US opioid crisis and its far-reaching effects. Earlier today, 4 drug companies came to a last-minute settlement over their role in the epidemic. The $260 million payout was agreed on just hours before the first federal trial was due to begin in Ohio. Over 400,000 Americans have died from opioid overdoses over the last 2 decades. Purdue Pharma has been accused of helping to spark the crisis with its painkiller OxyContin, but it denies any wrongdoing. BBC's Darren Conway has been investigating what's behind the epidemic and hearing stories from some of its youngest victims.
My name is Jacob. I'm 12 years old. Dear addiction, why did you turn my parents into something that they're not? I don't know my own father because of you. It's not really that cool to ruin people's lives. I couldn't have a normal childhood or life because of you.
My name is Kira, and I'm 11 years old. Dear addiction, you tore apart my family. Why mine? I've been lied to because of you. I have cried because of you. I have been bullied because of you. Signed, an upset child.
These are stories from a summer camp that no child should have to tell.
I don't think, no one really understands how I feel. I don't even know where my dad is and really who he is. And also, he's doing drugs, and I don't know if he OD'd and died or he just keeps ODing.
1 in 8 children in America live with a parent who suffers from a substance use disorder.
My dad would bring needles into the house, and then my friends, when they come over, they're like, "What's that?" And I would be embarrassed to bring any more friends over.
And they all have secrets that they need to share.
All right, show of hands. Do you have a parent, close friend, or relative who has died from drug abuse? So we got 100% of hands. Does anybody want to talk about that? Yes.
I know people that overdosed and died. You shouldn't go to rest like that. You should go to rest in a peaceful way. Not hurting and in pain and high and all that.
How about, do you have a parent, a close friend or relative who has overdosed? So that's why we're doing this work, right? Is because all of us have those very, very, very hard and tragic things in common. It's tremendously unfair that the children have seen the things that they have at such an early age. It's almost like we don't care when it's all said and done. That's what it really feels like, that we just don't care. That these are throwaway kids and it doesn't matter.
This is America's opioid epidemic, where every 11 minutes, someone dies of an overdose. That's more people than those killed by gun attacks or car accidents. But these are more than just statistics. These are the men and women, the mothers and fathers, and the children who have been sucked into what's become now known as America's greatest health crisis. 80% of heroin users started their path to addiction on prescription painkillers. And now pharmaceutical companies are being blamed for igniting this epidemic.
Imagine a life with chronic pain, persistent, debilitating, stabbing pain.
It was in the 1990s when this opioid epidemic began. Pharmaceutical companies assured the medical community that prescription opioids, originally prescribed for cancer patients, could be used to treat all chronic pain. But it was Purdue Pharma, with their painkiller OxyContin, that revolutionized how they were marketed.
Less than 1% of patients taking opioids actually become addicted.
Purdue Pharma was very effective in promoting their products and in persuading us in those early days that their drug was different from the opioids we were used to using, and that it was likely to be more effective and safer than the opioids that had been used before.
we were responding to a brilliant, multifaceted campaign that was really a marketing campaign disguised as education.
Purdue Pharma argues that they manufacture a government-approved medicine that provides life-changing relief for millions of pain patients who need it, and that they only supply a tiny portion of America's opioid prescriptions. Connecticut is home to Purdue Pharma. Its Attorney General is attempting to hold them to account for the lives lost and money spent on the opioid crisis.
I don't think that we as a state and as a country understood the depths and the extent to which the defendant members of the Sackler family and Purdue were engaged in this misconduct and how far-reaching it was. But now we know.
Do you believe Purdue's marketing was overly aggressive?
No.
One family owned, ran, and profited from Purdue Pharma, the Sackler family.
Do you believe Purdue's marketing was appropriate?
I believe so.
I presume somewhere Richard Sackler, in the dark of night, knew what he was doing was wrong. But there was just too much money to be made. And I think, for me, you know, we learned how for the banks, they were too big to fail in 2008, 2009. Well, in some of these pharmaceutical companies, it feels like they're just too big to care.
In total, 48 states have now filed lawsuits against pharmaceutical companies for their role in the opioid crisis. Purdue Pharma sent this statement to the BBC.
I am starting to get concerned that all of this attention paid on this one family is missing the role played by other pharmaceutical companies that did exactly what Purdue and the Sacklers did. And we're also missing some of the failures of our regulatory agencies, federal agencies, state agencies, all of the problems that need fixing. If we blame this all on the Sacklers and their greed, I'm worried we're not going to address many of these other failures.
And one of the greatest failures of all is that the hopes and dreams of so many children have been shattered by this epidemic.
I can't even imagine what they're living through. Just hearing their stories is unconscionable, though. I mean, it shouldn't be that way.
Pharmaceutical companies will likely be fined billions of dollars for igniting this crisis. But will these children ever be free from America's opioid epidemic?